And after this, having a conversation with one of the staff members, the question that we had asked is that, where were the locations of the surveillance cameras and what were the purpose for them? And the purpose was for to catch illegal dumpers, people who were illegally dumping. But the constituents who came to our meetings were indicating that some of the cameras were not located in some of the areas where normal surveillance, normal illegal dumping is taking place. So we thought it was, it's partial that the community knows where these cameras are. Exactly, are they in the locations they're supposed to be? Are they in the location where they're looking at someone and that's actually, what is the purpose of it? So we as a committee thought that, along with some committee members also thought that we needed to get more information regarding these surveillance cameras. So we made a motion to get information regarding these cameras. So if I could like to speak a little bit more on that.
I made several phone calls to the Consumer's office to request additional information, emails. We weren't receiving any feedback. We were told by one of their staff members that they did prosecute, I think, 6 people using the surveillance cameras, but we never really received anything in writing to be able to communicate to the community. So what we're asking for is we had to bring it to the board to write a letter to the councilman to request that information. And that's what this is for, is to request them to provide more details in regards to the purpose of the surveillance cameras and where they're located, and if there have been any prosecutions, when, and was there any reward. We want to know more information. Since we're not getting it from their office, they're not giving us the courtesy to get back to us, then we're asking now the board to send them a formal letter.
Okay. Does somebody want to move the motion?
I actually still want to comment on something.
Wait, the motion needs to be moved.
Oh, okay.
Second. Other comment on this? Mr. Johnson? Manzano? Sorry, your second, Mr. Johnson.
I saw the email blast where the council office mentioned the grant, I guess per se, that was allocated to these cameras. In the remote gardens area, this is a big issue about cameras because it comes up to questions of civil liberties. How are these cameras being used and what information that's being recorded is actually being used towards what's being specified for? For example, the cameras here in this question hypothetically are to catch people engaging in illegal dumping. But what if there's other stuff that shows up on those cameras that are viewed by other people? What safeguards do we have to protect the privacy of our community members? That, for example, somebody who might be a prominent community member is seen on a video, hypothetically, doing something, whether it's legal or not, but then other parties get a hold of that video and then it's used in some sort of way against those individuals. This here's a serious civil liberties question because, for example, if I'm an officer in remote gardens, when they put in a camera, the community came out in force and said, hey, who has access to those videos? Who is watching who, at what time, and what information are you getting? So if this information being recorded is being used for other purposes, then you have serious civil liberty questions and potentially legal questions that could have organizations like the ACLU step in and file a claim against the entity for basically infringing on people's privacy. This is a very important issue. It should be open and transparent what is being done here with these cameras and who is being responsible and who's being allowed to see that footage. Thanks.
Mr. Manzano?
Thank you. Good evening, directors. My name is Anthony Manzano, speaking for item number 8. Oh, thank you guys. And I'm actually giving you guys a compliment. Thanks for providing some agendas for someone's intuitive ideas over there to make these available for the stakeholders. It makes it a little easier. So thank you guys. But for relating to the cameras, I understand that they're out there perhaps for discouraging illegal activity. I don't believe they're placed there to intrude or to violate our privacy. But I think to protect the stakeholders, the very simplest thing that you guys are doing, which is preparing now this motion, is to just ask that those stakeholders or those neighbors or those public citizens be made aware that there's a camera. Because if you go to the park, there might be a sign up there that says, please be aware of your surveillance. But what's happening is people now are being aware that there's maybe cameras out in the street watching what you're doing. I don't hope so, I would hope not. But to protect those people, just have a sign up there saying, video camera being monitored, or this street being monitored. As a matter of fact, I would support this and even encourage them to add additional cameras. Catch the illegal dumpers, put them in the alleyways behind Eastern over here where they have the liquor store, behind the Dollar Tree in the alleys where they dump, up on Round Drive where they dump. So I believe it's acceptable to have some sort of discouragement, but at the same time, listen to the stakeholders and protect the people. And how would you do that? Just put a simple sign up there. So if there's a camera that goes in place, no problems. But there's a sign that says you're being watched. Plain and simple. It won't impede any of the privacy. And anyways, once we leave this building right now, we're all the public. So in reality, the only people that are going to be hiding from these cameras are the negative element. Because I'm not hiding from them, and I don't believe any of you guys are hiding from them. But we do have to protect ourselves as citizens. So the simplest way is just to ask the council member to keep doing what he's doing, provide the locations, but also to provide signage. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public? Board? Michelle, you have?
Yeah, do you guys have copy of that public safety committee? Do you guys have copy of that email blast with you, so I can look at it? Do you have that with you? I'd like to see.
That's all submitted to the,
You didn't bring copies for us?
no, not yet.
You guys don't have copies for us? Because I think that would have been something
Actually-
good to look at, because I can look at
If
it
it was here,
to make,
if it was placed on
I
the
would-
agenda, I would have, but since it wasn't.
I would be able to make a good decision if I had that email blast that you guys were saying.
What is it?
They said that the councilman sent out an email blast, and I would like to have seen it. I would think that would be, logic to have a copy of that email blast in my
Can you guys
hand,
forward it to the board?
so I can look at it, or even forward it to us before we sat down and discussed it a little bit. And then also too, do you guys have a log of exactly who you spoke to at CD14, the name and the time, so that also helps us make a decision to support this motion you guys are asking us, like you guys could have given us like something like, I called on this day, this time, spoke to this person, so we can be able to make a good vote to give you that support on this motion that you're asking, because that, that for me, I would feel more comfortable knowing, wow, look, public safety made an effort, they did a log for us, they spoke to these people this many times, this individual at this number.
Do you have a lot?
Do you have
Can I
a log?
respond, or?
I'm asking you
Well,
if you
let
have
her
a lot.
finish and then I'll reply.
And because once again, that would help us to see better, to support your motion, to come with something physical, maybe like a PowerPoint pictures,
Anything
paper,
else?
anything would help us. But, no, that's it actually.
Thank you. Anybody else? Capricia?
Okay, there's two things. The first thing is, I thought Anthony's comment was great about having a sign out there, but that's not what the motion asks for. So it maybe, if you guys want, you could maybe amend it to add that in. I thought that was a great idea. But I don't like the idea of the board getting just the camera locations. I don't think that really serves any purpose for the board to know, unless we are then going to put out signs ourselves or make it aware to the public. Just us having that information, I don't see any purpose for it and use for it other than to, unless we have some sort of backup mechanism, like where we can go and double check those spots, or I think that maybe there's a different way to go about it. Maybe like a partnership with the police department, or maybe a citizens commission on evaluating what the police or neighborhood is doing. I know they have one of those big ones for the city, but maybe we can try to figure out one for our precinct as well. I think that would be really useful. And, oh yeah, it just says that if any signs. So maybe we can put like, we want signs there. That's pretty much it. That was my only comment.
Cecilia?
So if the motion is amended, I
I would recommend that we keep in the location, just because I feel like it's important that we relay that information back to the community. And, whatever way that's possible on our Facebook, social media, I feel like that's really important information, so.
Thank you. I think for me, what's really interesting is how this decision was made, like to do this, and why. Is there
To do what?
To implement cameras, and I would really like to see like statistics or numbers or some sort of like evidence that actually says that this yields results. Because in areas that I've been to that are like cleaned up, for example, I think Westwood would be a really good example, by UCLA. I don't walk around like seeing cameras, and I think there's a different approach there that they're using that we might want to try visiting, rather than implementing cameras everywhere. I think it might be useful, but I think it'd be interesting maybe in that letter to try to like request like how the decision was made and how those spots were chosen. If they did reach out to the citizens and ask, hey, where's dumping happening? How frequently is it happening? I know that we had the district attorney come in recently, and I've spoken to her as well, and she's supposed to be kind of like the key person that's supposed to be focusing on this. You know, the city's been like investing a lot more time into something like this, but yeah, it just kind of seems sort of sudden, and especially because so few people know about it too. I mean, it wasn't like I saw, you know, flyers like come to this committee and report to us that we've been seeing dumping in, you know, spot A or spot B. So it would just be interesting to see how they came about with this decision.
One more thing, if I can.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm actually believe completely opposite of Sasha, that we shouldn't have less cameras. I think we need to have more cameras, and there needs to be a ton of signs posted. I love it how Westwood is and how they don't have dumping, but this isn't Westwood. So I think that we need to have, I mean, I know that dumping has been an issue. It's one of the main reasons why I wanted to join this neighborhood council, because I hate trash in the street. I hate walking around and seeing, oh, we just started TV and couches, you know, and mattresses. Everyone got mattresses for Christmas. Apparently, like that's really bothersome. So, but I just would love to, if we had this way, if we had like, if the 311 system, if we had more of that posted, like, you know, telling people how to properly dump their stuff, you know, just to do a overhaul to try to keep our streets clean every which way.
I do want to say something only because generally as a board, and I know for me, when I've had to rush to type up letters, I don't think we generally vote on sending a letter if we don't actually see the letter that's going to be sent out. Did you guys do you have a letter?
Well, can I speak? So here's the thing, we're just asking for the board to create, this is a concept, I can create the letter for you. The concept is gonna be this. We're not asking to, I'm sure the board is gonna have plenty more questions later when we find out when are the locations, what are the policies, who's watching these videos, where is it being reported, who's reporting it. See, these are just questions that we want the council office to provide us, and since we're not getting a response from the council member's office, this is where the outcome, you know, the resolution that we had to come to. So we're not asking for them to put up signs. Eventually, yeah, we want to know. I went to one location, I was tipped off. There was one location, it's up on the hill, I forgot the name of the street, but I drove by there, and somebody wrote with a cardboard, put it next to the camera, and put, you're being watched. Well, it's not, you know, this is why we want to know, where did our taxpayer dollars go? If $15,000 were used for these cameras, we just want to know where. Like I said, this is just a very first step. This is just for information for the office to provide us, and then I'm sure we'll have a lot more questions later.
No, I understand, but I mean, if the letter is, I mean.
I can write the letter, and I can send it to the board, but the concept is going to be basically, this is the fundamental of what we're asking for. We're asking to provide the information. The other things are going to be the who the concerns and who we CC. And I could forward that to the board, but I think it's so important because this has been ongoing for such a long time. We want to know what has been the outcome, when were they placed, what has been the outcome up to now. And since his staff member did tell us there were 6 prosecutions, I'd like to know When?
No, yeah, I agree and I understand, but it doesn't give the board a chance to chime in on what's actually written on the letter. Like, we could be discussing, maybe remove this sentence and let's include locations or let's,
This is exactly what we're putting in the letter. We want to know the policies, the reporting process, camera locations, the office surveillance policies within LA 32. That's pretty much going to be a one paragraph of what your letter is going to consist of, and everybody who we're going to CC. We want something formal since the office isn't responding, so that's going to be your concept.
I'd like to make a motion that we see it for next month with the letter from the committee and the copy of the email blast and a log of who they called at the councilman's office and the time. So that gives us a little more to look at.
there's a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'd like to,
But you're suggesting that
that we
table the item.
table it so we can see the letter from the committee. They type a letter for us,
You could ask
a little more
the
formal,
maker of the motion.
you know, a little more formal, that they type it for us and give us copies for us, and it's part of